Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Cassidy Arbeli. I am a business strategist and consultant. And today we're going to be talking about what you need to do to audit your business, because when we first start our business, we don't always know what we're doing. And we tend to just keep going on this hamster wheel. And sometimes we turn ourselves into glorified employees and we aren't spending enough time working on our business as we are in our business. So I'm going to teach you the 4 phases that I go through when I'm working with clients in order to audit their business and see what needs to be done and move them to the next level. But also, we are currently doing this in one of our businesses that we started a year and a half ago. We manufacture and distribute aluminum products. Now, before this, we had never worked in the aluminum industry and had no idea what we were doing with that product. However, we did have business experience and we had success in business. So we understood the foundation. We started the business, we did the best that we could, we tried things, we learned along the way, and now it's time for me to go back in there and audit what's happening and go through these phases that I'm going to teach you today so that we can get to the next level and continue to grow and build our business for success. It's time for you to take a moment and check in with your business and make sure that you haven't been veered off course. Being a business owner means you have to always have your eye on the vision with strategy and action happening consistently. And sometimes, let's be honest, when we don't know what we're doing, we tend to lose our way, we get burnt out, we lose track of that vision, and we are super overwhelmed because we don't know where to start or what is the next thing we need to do to continue to scale and move to the next level. This is where taking a step back in your business and analyzing it comes in. So if that sounds interesting to you and you think it might be time for you to do this in your business, you're going to love this video. In phase 1, the first thing that I always do with my clients and or within our business is I have a founders meeting. I sit down with the CEO, the business owner, the agency owner, or any partners that are included within the business decisions, and we have a meeting. That founders meeting is all about clarifying the company vision, the core values, the core focus or the immediate focus, and the company's goals and its branding. This is the time to make sure we are all on the same page of where we see the company going, what it stands for, what its brand is, and what are the goals that we are trying to achieve. We start with that foundation with the founders meeting. We sit down and I am capturing all that information so that as we move through the next phases, we have our foundation that we are building from, so we can make sure that everything we do next to make this business better is always aligned with the company vision and where it is the company wants to go. Now, after we've met with the founders, that is when the founders and I, or the founders by themselves, are going to have a meeting with their team. And they're going to explain to the team what it is that we're going to be doing and the process by which we're going to be doing this thing. So we sit the entire team down and we let them know that we're all going to be working together to analyze the current state of the business, that it's important for them to participate in this analyzation and finding out all the information, good and bad, of what is working and what is not working. The goal is to make sure in this meeting that it's super positive, that everybody's on board and they understand this is not about us coming in to micromanage what they're doing, but it is to come in to analyze how we can make their job environment better, their position better, how to maybe implement some systems and processes so that we can get to the next level, and that includes their help. In this meeting, we let them know we will be sitting with them, observing them, asking a lot of questions, and what they can expect in the next coming weeks of how this is going to roll out. Typically, what I have found with these team members and teams of companies is that everybody is super thirsty and hungry for something to change. We've gotten to the end of our ropes. We are kind of just doing things the way we've always done them, and there has to be better ways to do things. And so usually they're all very excited for this type of thing to be happening. And also, it does create authority and trust in their leadership team that they have also recognized it's time for them to do this. And so it's always been a really positive meeting towards the end. Now, you may have a couple people that are a little bit nervous or curious or maybe feel uncomfortable, but as the phases move on, you will be able to filter out the ones that are on board with helping your company grow and helping themselves and the ones that are not. And sometimes, unfortunately, there are people that are not going to be the right people that you will continue with. However, if you do not go through this process, you're going to continue paying somebody to be part of your team who really isn't aligned with what it is you need your company to be doing. And isn't it better for us to figure this out sooner than later? Absolutely. Now we move on, after we've set this foundation, to the next phase. Now, if you're not following me on Instagram, you should. Make sure you check the link in the description below to connect with me on Instagram because I show a lot of the behind the scenes of the things I do on a regular basis. Last week, I shared how I am going through this process in our aluminum business. Last week, I spent my time in phase two. Phase two is the audit process. This is where we sit with every single team member, every single department, and we observe and we watch and we pay attention and we ask questions about the things that they're doing in the company and making sure that we have a good understanding of the challenges they have, the things that are going well, the things that they love to do, the things they don't really like to do. Where do they see the next hire needing to be? Maybe they need to be in a different position. What is happening in the day-to-day operations of your business and within these positions that you just need to capture the information? This is not a time for you to correct anything that they're doing or to give any advice or feedback. This is all about observing and capturing what it is that you see and making sure you're documenting that in detail so that when we move on to the next part of phase two, where we start to make a plan, you're going to know exactly what the current status of the company and the business is. Now, it's more important that you understand that in this audit process, it is about what they do. It is not about why they do it or maybe even in detail how they do it, but what it is that they're doing within their position and for the company to bring in the results that your company needs them to bring. Make sure that you're leaving all the emotion out of it and that you're just sitting there to observe and to collect the information you need to hopefully make things better. Last week, I spent anywhere from a few hours with an individual in their position in their department to over an entire day, really seeing what they're doing. This could be different for every single one of you, so make sure you plan accordingly. After I've spent that entire week with every department, every team member, I had tons of information and I just documented and documented. And now I've got a stack of papers of things I have to go through. And the goal is then for you to take some time to sit down and really analyze the information you collected, because now it is time to go back to all the information you got in that founders meeting about what the company vision is, the goals, all of that stuff, and make sure that where your current business is at, the processes, the systems, the people, the culture, the vibe, the view of how they see things in the perspective, that it's aligned with the foundation we went through in phase one. And typically it's not, and that is okay. And that is why we are doing what we are doing by going through this audit process in your business. The next thing you need to do is figure out where the current status of your business is and have where you want your business to be going. There's always going to be this gap. So once we know what the gap is, because we've identified those things through this process, now we can start to create a plan. After I collected all this information, I sat down with the founders again, CEOs, business owners, whatever you want to call them, and I let them know, here's the current status of where the business is. Here is how your team is functioning. Here are the results they are bringing in. Here is how they view the company. Here is how they love what they're doing or not love what they're doing. Here are the challenges that are coming up. And now we can work on closing that gap and making a plan. Now we go back to the drawing board based on what the foundational items mentioned in phase one, and we build the strategy of what is needed for us to close that gap. And now it's time to move on to phase three. So at this point in the process, you have made sure you've aligned all your company goals with what you actually want to be happening, the results you want your company to be producing. You sat down with your team, you observed and captured all the information that you could to ensure that you are very clear on the current status of where you're at so that you can close that gap. Now we've created a plan. Here are the ways we are going to have some strategy and some actions we want to take in order for us to move from where we are now to where it is we're trying to go. Now that we have that plan, it's time for phase three, where we're going to go back, we're going to sit down with the team, and we're going to have something I like to call the State of the Union meeting. Now, the State of the Union meeting is really just about letting the team know, here's what we found out, here's the plan that we have, and here are the visions and goals and branding and everything that our company stands for and where we want to go. And this is how we're going to start getting aligned to get to that next level. We then also go through the entire plan. That plan is going to include standardized operating procedures. It's going to include all the training and processes that we are now going to be implementing, that we need to make sure we have those repeatable systems in our business so that our team can show up, implement those systems and start seeing some of those results. In phase 4, now it's time for us to implement and track. This has to be one of the hardest parts of this process, where a lot of people might say, oh my gosh, having this meeting with my team is super scary and daunting. People aren't going to be on board with this. But I'm telling you right now, the hardest part is going to be implementation and tracking. Now, what does implementation and tracking look like? It looks like we are now doing things a little different than we've ever done them. There may be some shifts and transitions that are happening. And so you have to have someone, if not you as the business owner, be the leader in ensuring that these new operations are being implemented, the actions are being taken in the process and the system that you've built for that to happen. And so the implementation and tracking is probably going to take months. You're now starting to change some things in your business. It's not going to happen overnight. But as long as you are continuing to empower your team, making sure that that vision and where you're going is super clear and that everybody's on board, most of the people, if not all of them, are going to rise to the occasion. Okay? So we are here to keep track that things are working. And if we need to correct some people and shift them back to being aligned with why we're doing what we're doing and how it is that we are doing it, then that's what needs to happen. This is when those systems we created become repeatable. And when you have the right people in the right seats working on these repeatable systems, now we can create repeatable results. That is the entire goal of what we're trying to do. Making sure we have the aligned intention of our business with the strategy that we are creating in order to close that gap. And now it's time for us to take that strategic action and just keep executing. Now, why do we say implement and track? In order for you to hold your team accountable and also make sure the things that you've changed or the things that you've implemented are working and bringing you the right results, it's so important for you to track and measure the result that your team and the company is doing. We ensure that we are inputting the crucial measurables into our tracking system so that we can continue to measure how well and how far we are moving towards our goals. Things are starting to move, things are starting to shake, results are starting to change. The vibe is better, the environment is better, and everybody's feeling so much better about what's happening. And we are tracking and starting to see some momentum. Lastly, not everything you come up with in the plan is going to work 100%. Processes and systems always need to be refined. There are new levels you're going to be hitting. There are people you're going to be hiring. There are adjustments you're going to be making. And so you have to constantly make sure that by the time you get done with this last phase, you are in the mindset that you're going to need to possibly refine these things. Keep track of the data, analyze the data, and make sure you're going back in to refine what needs to be refined on a regular basis. This again is going to show your team that you are serious about making this change, you are serious about this company hitting its goals, and you care about how every single person in your company is doing, bringing in that performance and those results. Make sure that you are checking in regularly with your team, you are spot checking that data that you are tracking on a consistent basis, and then it's all about maintaining that well-oiled machine you just created. It's so much easier to make small shifts when everybody's on the same page, everybody understands what they need to be doing, and you have the data to back up that things are or are not working. So if you're someone who's feeling burnt out and disappointed with the results that your company is getting now, then this framework for hitting the refresh button on your business is probably exactly what you need. Now, if you've watched up until now, you are probably someone who's feeling burnt out and super disappointed with the results that your business is getting now. I have a download for a 15-minute biz quiz, which will help you in 15 minutes or less figure out what the bottleneck in your business is, whether it's a department or the performance and results that you are getting in your business now. Make sure to check the link below to download that free valuable tool so that you can get some clarity on what needs to happen next in your business today. As always, thank you so much for hanging out, and I will see you in the next video.